how to come up with language barriers. That's one of the questions, I guess. And in terms of consulting as well, it might have been a very, very common thing, right? So how did you get through that?
Just to check, Vincent's from Eddie Hub. Is that language is in spoken language or coding language? I just want to kind of clarify.
Um, I guess we can answer in both ways. I
Okay,
guess,
sure.
first of all,
Let's talk.
communication is a major thing, right? So let's talk about
Yes.
in terms of talking with clients from different places, which have who have like a very different way of communicating, very different culture and things like that. How do you come up with those barriers?
So I think it's important to have a standard that you use, and then you've kind of got a starting point, because a lot of clients want to be led unless they've got something they've nailed down over the years. But a lot of them, even big companies, they say, what would you recommend to do this? And for them to ask, sometimes they don't know how to ask, or they're not sure if they should ask. So I always like to have a starting point. This is how I do things. But if you want to tweak it and change things, we can. And most of the time, they don't. They're happy to go with the industry. I say industry standard. I don't think there is a 100% industry standard, but with what the consultant would suggest. Some people like to tweak it. They say, right, I don't want, I don't know. I take a simple example. I've got a Kanban board, for example. I'd say we've got, this is our backlog, this is in progress, this is in review and done. And some of them might want a couple more columns and so forth, or something slightly different. So that's just one example. But communication is massively key. I have seen some of my clients hold on to some of their other clients, even though what they're producing is bad, because their communication is good. And I've seen other people that have bad communication, but what they're producing is really good. And they say, we're going to get rid of those people. I'm like, but why? What they produce is really good. They say, they just never get back to us. We just, feel we're not in the loop. We just feel that we're kind of forgotten about. I'm like, but they're producing something better than the other clients that you outsource to. And they went, yeah, but their communication is better. We're in the loop and so forth. And so I think it's really important to find that balance between spamming people and not contacting them, and then they feel that they have to chase you. So what I always recommend is kind of agree some agree the communication platform and how you want to do it. Is it Slack? Is it email? Is it GitHub, etc.? Because some people don't even check their GitHub notifications. They might be on GitHub as a client, but they might not do any coding. They might occasionally raise a bug or an idea or an issue, but that's as far as it goes. So it's always worth asking, like, how do you want me to communicate with you? And then what I do is, like, for example, on Slack, on some of my clients, they have a Slack channel, they invite me to it, and I will give like daily updates on I do a stand-up. Even if it's not an official stand-up, everyone else is getting involved, I will always give a stand-up. And most of the time they won't even look at it, but they feel they're in the loop. Whereas I'm blocked by something, I need them to answer something, then I'll at them and say, actually, I need this answered. So on my normal stand-up, I won't send them a notification. But if I need something, then I will. So there's kind of that, the information is there if they want it, and I nudge them when I really need it as well. So I would definitely recommend that with the communication. With the written languages, I think once you've learned the first one, like coding languages, not written, so I should say coding languages. Once you learn the first one, the others become easy. So I would try and, you're never going to master a whole language either, but try and get the basics that you can then and use to other languages. Like if you know a for loop, a condition, and data types and so forth from, say, TypeScript, you can apply it to, Python or Java. There's still going to be quirks and differences, but a lot of it is the same.
Right. Basically, everything is, most of that is object oriented. If you know the different things on how different like strategies work over there in object oriented languages, you'll able to figure out another language. Like I was really good in JavaScript. For getting into Go, it just took me like 1 hour or two. I just saw a few tutorials and I was good to go on that. But there's a difference when it comes to like programming languages versus scripting languages, right? So what do you think might be the strategy to learn different types of languages in that way as well?
So some languages like, Java or Scala, they're quite kind of strict and focused, whereas JavaScript is very forgiving. And so I think if someone starts off with one of the strict languages, the PHP, the JavaScript are easier to pick up rather than going the other way, because JavaScript is just so forgiving. That's why I always suggest to people to actually do TypeScript, because you get the best of JavaScript, but then you can start making it a bit stricter as and when you're comfortable with it, and then it becomes easier to pick up other languages. I think it's just having hands-on experience, not getting stuck in just watching videos is great, but trying to actually build something with what you've learned is really, really important. And then being part of an amazing community where they can help, and then people need to make their questions really specific. Then if people say, hey, I'm learning Go, I'm stuck, or I don't know what to do next, they're not going to get a response, and they wonder why. But they said, hey, I'm learning Go, I'm trying to do a for loop, this is my loop, this is my data, it's not looping, what's wrong? They're going to get an answer, because people want to help, but they don't want to have to help themselves to help you to understand what's going on. And it just becomes this whole back and forth. What have you tried? What are you doing? Say what you've tried, say what your latest version is, make it easy for people to help you, and make it as specific as possible, and they will help. And then you'll learn a lot faster.
Right, definitely.